Many Formula One fans could very well argue that since leaving Red Bull Racing, Australian driver Daniel Ricciardo's F1 career has been a rollercoaster ride. But there's no denying that the last 2 years haven't been easy for Ricciardo, whose plan to rejuvenate his career with McLaren Racing has now seen him being replaced only 2 seasons later. Notwithstanding, the 8-time Grand Prix winner's woes do not appear to be going away anytime soon, as for the first time this 2022 summer break, a young driver who is not named, Oscar Piastri, is piling on Ricciardo's problems and may very well force the 33-year-old driver to retire unexpectedly. How is Mick Schumacher's decision influencing Daniel Ricciardo's F1 career? What is the most recent news about the Australian driver? It is no secret that Daniel Ricciardo has been largely underwhelming for the McLaren Racing team since joining in the 2021 season, and to make matters worse, he has been completely overshadowed by his younger teammate Lando Norris, whom he was supposed to lead. Nonetheless, the Alpine, Oscar Piastri McLaren saga has already cast a large shadow on the 33-year-old driver's career, with many in the paddock believing that the Australian driver no longer has much to offer and that his chances of landing a race seat are slim given his age and salary. Regardless, Daniel Ricciardo has quickly debunked these rumours, stating that he still loves the sport and is driven to stay in Formula One despite not being guaranteed a seat with McLaren next season. There's certainly a few things, like the competition. It has to be one of the only sports in the world where there's only 20 people that are doing it. The competition is such like a small 0.001% of a group. So to be able to not only be part of that group, but to compete inside that group, that's such a unique thing in itself. And I so love that, Ricciardo said. The Australian driver's optimism is warranted, given that his McLaren driver's issue provided him with the chance to replace Fernando Alonso at the French racing team next season. Furthermore, Alpine team principal Otmar Szafnauer stated publicly that he was not ruling out the possibility of signing the 8-time race winner. But in an unexpected turn of events, it appears that Haas racing driver Mick Schumacher is leading the charge to replace Fernando Alonso, which does not bode well for Ricciardo. When 4-time Formula One champion Sebastian Vettel announced his retirement at the end of the 2022 season, he indicated that he would have preferred Mick Schumacher, the son of legendary F1 driver Michael Schumacher, to replace him. However, things did not go as planned, and Mick, who was excited to leave Haas to join Aston Martin, had his contract extension with the American-based racing team stalled. Regrettably, Haas team principal Günther Steiner, who has since made it clear that he was not confident in Mick's performance, confirmed that talks with the German driver over a contract extension were currently off the table, and as such, the younger Schumacher's F1 career was hanging by a thread. I don't really know what Mick has done, and we have not spoken about a drive for next year with Mick. He hasn't spoken to us and we haven't spoken to him. We want to see what's happening. This Aston Martin thing happened very quickly, and so nobody had time to really think about it, but there were rumours he, Schumacher, could replace Vettel, but that went away pretty quick. We didn't look at what other people were doing, said Steiner. However, it appears that the German driver has openly expressed his desire to join Alpine after recently following the man in charge of driver recruitment at Alpine, Laurent Rossi, on Instagram, which also happens to be the CEO of the Enstone-based team. Moreover, Mick's uncle and former F1 driver Ralf Schumacher believes Daniel Ricciardo has no chance of racing for any team on the grid next season, and because Mick is yet to sign a contract with Haas for the 2023 season, the German driver has a chance of getting the most coveted free race seat for next season. Mick Schumacher has also not yet signed a contract, therefore he would be a candidate with speed, as you have seen. Nico Hülkenberg is also still in the starting blocks for an Alpine drive. And then there is the question of Daniel Ricciardo. Personally, I can't imagine that he would get another chance in Formula One, but I don't know who Alpine should take at the moment, Ralf said. Furthermore, as rumours of the younger Schumacher joining Alpine gain traction, Mick has so far been quick to let critics know that he is deserving of a spot in F1 and that most of the headlines do not reflect his ability as a driver. People are kind of focused on building headlines, in a way. Yeah, I understand that people need to make money and they need to do some stuff, but on the other hand, also, I would appreciate if people would, maybe take more time to actually build up facts. I don't really reflect on those again or go back to those. I know what I'm able to do. I know what I'm worth. In each championship that I've competed in junior categories, I was able to be second or first, so I don't see any reason why I shouldn't be able to do that in Formula One, Mick said. However, regardless of the rumours about Mick Schumacher taking the race seat for the Alpine Racing team next season, Daniel Ricciardo appears to be handling it well, stating that he is optimistic about his chances of racing in Formula One next season and that he would not be surprised because he still derives a lot of satisfaction from the uncertainty of Formula One. The truth is, the highs you get are just so high because so much goes into it. Of course, you take risks, like to win a race for example. You haven't gone for a Sunday drive, you've put it all on the line, the team has, you've pushed your body, mentally and physically. So then the high and the reward is pretty amazing and pretty spectacular. I could probably keep going, but there are a few things I believe I still thrive off it because I still believe I belong in Formula One and can do it. That's what really gets me jacked, and the love of it, as well as knowing that any weekend that could be there, like it could be around the corner, you know, Ricciardo explained. Nonetheless, with Formula One returning after the summer break at the Belgian Grand Prix, which Daniel Ricciardo won with Red Bull in 2014, the Australian driver has issued a caution to the FIA, urging a change in weekend format if the calendar is to be expanded next season, despite not being guaranteed a race seat yet. The 2022 Formula One season, like the 2021 season, has a record 22 races from 20 countries. And the FIA is planning to expand the race to 24 for the 2023 F1 season, with Las Vegas and Qatar on the way, and there have also been rumours that China may return for the first time since 2019. The Australian driver stated that he would prefer 18 races in a calendar year because he is concerned about the impact on Formula One staff who travel for these races, and he also fears that it will be a tiring one for all drivers. I think like around that mark that 18 is a good number. It's also the stuff like the race weekend are, they're 4, sometimes 5-day weekends. And then if you've got those back-to-back or triple headers, that's what's tiring, said Ricciardo. He, however, made clear that he is not entirely opposed to 24 races in a calendar year, and even though it does happen, the race weekend schedule needs to change to allow F1 drivers and other personnel enough time to meet the demands of each race weekend. I think we could race 24 times a year and be okay, but the week has to look different to be able to achieve that properly. The schedules need to change and the lead-up needs to change, but it's hard when the sport's growing and you're getting more sponsors and all the rest of it. It's hard to then cut time. If they still want the time, then I think 18 races is a good number, Ricciardo said. Nonetheless, given his talent and charming personality, we expect to see Daniel Ricciardo on the grid next season. Besides that, he has yet to achieve his dream of joining fellow Australians such as Jack Brabham and Alan Jones in winning a Formula One championship, so we will be hoping to see him on the grid for a while longer. What are your thoughts on Daniel Ricciardo rejoining the Alpine Racing team? Do you believe Mick is better suited to the Alpine racetrack, or do you think neither driver will get the race seat? Let us know in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, the next video on your screen is worth your time.